Hey there, teachers. Just wanted to try this little screen recording of my presentation of my mini workshop from Wednesday. In case you didn't get a chance to go, just thought I'd share it with you electronically if you want to gander at it. So basically, by the end of this presentation, you should have somewhat of an understanding as to what peer-to-peer instruction is and how it would be possible to implement it in your classroom. Um, just a little backstory about when we talk about data and some research. What happened was that some very smart folks got together and looked at all the impacts of student achievement and came up with a number that was zero point 0.4. So, out of all the 900 things they looked at, the average effect size was zero point 0.4, which translates to, I believe, 14 um, a 14-point gain on like a standardized test from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So basically, what Marzano and Hattie, some of our better educational researchers are promoting is this idea of using strategies that have an effect size score over zero point 0.4, because who wants to be average? So when we look at peer-to-peer instruction, we look at the possibility of getting feedback, so which is a zero point 0.8 to a 1.25, and the idea of peer tutoring. And what that means is, if you look at one class that doesn't get any feedback, right, and just everything else is average, and they end the year with a zero point 0.4 uh, growth, and another class gets really good feedback, adequate feedback, which ranges from a zero point 0.8 to a 1.25, that means that that class is going to double the achievement of the other class, or almost triple it. And with peer tutoring, it's a little bit above that average, but it's something that is a low cost item that you can implement into your class that does provide more gains than not doing it. Why try peer to peer? Well, a lot of times kids, learners, they have misconceptions about stuff. And this is a great way to show the misconceptions and to, as a teacher, understand what the misconceptions are from your students, and to provide a way for them to get corrective thinking on that. It also gives you a chance and the students a chance to all participate instead of asking a question and having one student respond. All the students are responding. And most importantly, students have to really know their stuff in order to talk about it and to teach someone else and to kind of use that language. And just a kind of a background as to the man that invented all this, the Eric Mazur, who's a professor of physics at Harvard. He was noticing that at the end of his school, at the end of the year, or the end of his class, his students, some of the best students in the world, Harvard physics students there, were not retaining stuff. Um, they didn't remember stuff they had learned from the beginning. So he was thinking that this idea of just lecturing then was not doing the kids justice. So he started messing around with different items, and through trial and error, he came up with this idea of peer-to-peer instruction. And he actually went on to invent clickers. And Mark Zuckerberg was in his class, and some say that some of these ideas that he used where he shows something beforehand, then these kids comment with their pictures, kind of helped Zuckerberg frame Facebook. So it's good stuff. So here's the process, and I'm gonna have a map underneath it, a flowchart that Mr. Vega sent to me to help out kind of the process idea of here and of the actual peer-to-peer instruction. So obviously the kids have to have some sort of common learning experience. This could be, they also call this just-in-time teaching. This could be a unit they've read or a chapter they've read. Could be a mini lesson. Could be a lesson right before the activity. Could be a movie that they've watched if you try flipping your instruction. Some sort of video outside of the classroom instruction. It has to be the same thing, and they all have had to have taken part in it. And then some sort of assessment of that idea. So when I say pre-assessment, I'm talking about before the peer-to-peer instruction piece. Not necessarily before the common learning experience. So just an exit slip or what have you. just so where you know what those misconceptions are that your students have, so you can actually make some cool questions. Multiple choice questions can be awful, or they can be really good. So if you use those misconceptions against the students, and you have an idea of where their thinking is and where off it is, you can use that to make a really good peer-to-peer instruction activity. So those kids have to kind of confront their misconceptions. Then you go about creating the presentation, and then you give the peer-to-peer instruction activity. During that peer-to-peer, and again, I'll have another flow chart to kind of show this, you give a question, and then you allow every student to respond using clickers, using BYOD, some different websites, and I'll kind of talk about that real quickly here in a little bit. And then you look at what amount of people got it correctly. So if you're teaching and you ask a question and you look at the responses and less than 30% are correct, it means that that was too hard and you need to reteach. You need to reteach that idea because not enough kids got it. If it's greater than 70%, it's it's a little too easy. So all you would really need to do at that point is just kind of check off mentally that your class on the whole gets it, see which kids didn't, so you can assist them, and then kind of explain what the right answer is and go on from there. What you're really looking for, though, is this kind of Goldilocks question where the correct percentage is somewhere between 30 and 70%. That's your goal. That's your goal. That's how you know you're making good questions. Is if you can take a question from the data you got before and only have between 30 and 70% get it right. So this is actually a really good exercise for teachers to start understanding how to craft really excellent questions. So especially when it comes to discussion and not necessarily, so when it comes to discussion. So after you see that Goldilocks question, you're gonna want the students to find someone or talk in their group or whatever and explain why they're right. Explain why their answer is right, and it shouldn't be, because yes, or it's the right answer. It's what I got. Okay, they need to explain their thinking. They need to explain why they're right. They want to convince someone else that they're right. So the first few times that you do this, you may want to start with some sort of conversation starters on the board, so they can kind of follow that. I believe it is B because of this, this, and that. To help our guys and gals start talking and start really expressing themselves when it comes to the knowledge that they have in their little gray squishy things in their craniums there. After you give them the chances to argue with each other, you re-ask the question and look at the results. If it's 100%, do a little celebratory dance and go on to the next question. If it's less than 100%, you can do a couple things. You can just explain what the right answer is and kind of move on. Or you can have, if you have especially like a 60-40 split, you still have this 60-40 split, have one person from each group come up and explain their thinking to the whole class, and then you go ahead and tell them what the right answer is and explain why it's the right answer. Really great stuff. I mean, this is what is being used now in colleges a lot. So there is some idea there for you high school teachers that this would not be lost on them because they would be seeing this again if they're going to an American university. It is gaining a lot of momentum in the academia world. And it's good teaching, it's good practices, it's allowing your students to really be the center of it all, and you're just there taking notes, seeing which kids really know their stuff, which kids are still struggling. One thing you're going to see a lot is you're going to see some kids that won't talk. So really encourage them to talk about what's on their mind. This is real quickly is clickers. You need to have Turning Point 2008 on your computer. And again, if you have any questions, I'm not going to really explain everything here. Please let me know. I'm going to put my calendar underneath this video, so please book an appointment with me if you have questions or you want to see this in action. I may not know your content, but I can certainly help set this up to help you guys out, and I can be in the classroom with you. So clickers, that we have 3 sets of clickers, so those are nice. It's nice that it's just on radio frequency, so you don't have to rely on the internet, just in case something happens. There's some good sites there. Poll Everywhere, Socrative, or Socrative, or Socrative, however you'd like to say it, and Nearpod. Those are all really good if you're doing BYOD. If you have a bunch of different devices in your classroom, you lucky guys up there, lucky guys and gals, then Poll Everywhere, Socrative, and Nearpod, those all work on through browsers, so you don't have to worry about anything. Although Nearpod is also an app, but it's an app that works on any device. And then you could use Schoology and you could use Google Forms. I think it would be a little trickier to keep track of things and to kind of keep re-asking questions, but it could be something to investigate to keep everything there in one nice little package for you. Well, I hope you at this point understand a little what peer-to-peer instruction is, and maybe, quite possibly, you have an idea of how you might start looking at it in your classroom. But please, if you have any questions, again, my calendar's there. Book an appointment with me. Leave a comment, leave a question underneath the video. Anything at all, anything I can do to help. That's what we're here for. Okay, depending on when you see this, have a great evening, great weekend, great day, good morning, good night. See ya.